So you're thinking about changing jobs because maybe you think that you're going to get a better outcome, more salary, a better culture, more advancement. But is that really true? Could you be making a career mistake? Today we're going to talk about the truth of changing jobs and is the grass really greener on the other side? And how do you make an informed decision so you don't make a career mistake as you move forward? So making an informed decision to change jobs is critical when you're looking at growth and opportunity. Changing jobs is stressful. Changing jobs has consequences, some good, some bad. So you really want to make sure you're making the right decision in an informed, very objective way. Maybe you're getting a higher salary. Salary seems to be one of the number one reasons people will at least state, maybe it's not the real reason, but they at least state is the reason they want to look for another job. So when you're evaluating salary based on your current job, based on another job, and maybe it's an increase, you really need to look at it from a comprehensive package. What are the new company's healthcare packages with health insurance? Are you going to be paying more in premiums? What are their benefits? Do they have an employee assistance program? Do they have flexible work schedules? Do they have retirement plans? Do they have an employer match? Do they have bonus programs? You really need to look at the comprehensive package based on the new company, based on your current company. Often, not always, but often if it's a higher salary, you may actually be losing money on other ways that you hadn't even considered because you're just basing it on salary alone. You also need to look at it from a non-financial consideration. For example, what is the workplace balance? Do they allow for people to work remote sometimes? Do they allow for flexible scheduling? What do they look like for vacations? Is it something that you have to be there from a seniority standpoint to get vacation days? Or is it more flexible that you can give with proper notice, paid time off, or even unpaid time off if that works for you? What are the personal growth and opportunity development opportunities? Are you in a place now that perhaps you have some seniority and experience that you have opportunities for growth in the future? Or does the new company offer that? Does the new company have opportunities for growth and development? What is the company's stability? What does that mean? Really talk to people who have worked in that company or research in other ways like news articles if it's large enough. What is their financial stability? How long have they been in business? Are they a small business, medium business, or larger business for the community that they live in? What will the cost of living be if you have to relocate to that company? And then importantly, what is their culture? And one way you can look at stability for their culture is, have they done layoffs in the past? And if they've done layoffs in the past, how did they do it? Have you talked to people, or are you able to look on the website, on the internet, if they've had to publicly report that they've done a layoff? And if so, how many, how often, and how have they done it? That really will give you at least a preliminary view on the stability of the organization. If it's a smaller company and they don't have those things live, those are questions you can actually ask in an interview. You wouldn't necessarily want to ask, have you done layoffs? But you can ask, what are the financial outlooks for that company? What are the goals of the company? If the company has really concrete goals that make sense, then perhaps that is an area that is stable. But those are questions that you really need to think about as you're trying to make an informed decision about looking forward to a new company. The total compensation over time. Again, too often people look at, what is the current salary? What am I paying right now? Or what am I going to get paid right now? Perhaps there's more growth opportunity in your current company over time, meaning if you have regular merit or market increases, or if you have opportunities, again, to do extra, you really need to think about, what is my long-term solution and total compensation over time. Sometimes slower and progressive is actually better for your overall salary. So remember, Salary is important, but it's not the most important. There are other ways that you really need to make an informed decision on if your grass is greener on the other side. So let's talk a little bit about retirement benefits. This is something that I really have found people don't often ask questions of before thinking about another company, and they really don't realize it till they're kind of already in. So one question would be, does your current company and does your future potential company offer an employer match? Meaning if you put in 5%, do they put in 5%? What is the vesting schedule? And by the vesting schedule, that means if you put money into the retirement account, when are you considered to get all of that back and at what time? Some companies have what they call a vesting schedule that you have to be there 6 months, 1 year, 3 years in order to get all of the employer match money back. So those would be questions, again, that can overall impact your future salary compensation that you really need to think about. What, again, are the non-financial benefits? Do they offer professional development? Do they offer training initiatives? Do they have a supportive work culture? And again, if this is a place that's a brick and mortar, I would recommend you go to that company, have a cup of coffee, and evaluate if they have a lobby or an area that you can see, especially if you're going to be on an on-site interview. Get there about 30 minutes early and kind of observe the company culture. Are people laughing? Are people welcoming? Are people saying hello? Do you have a feeling of a positive culture? That is key to work job satisfaction and work career balance. So there are several reasons why people really want to look for another job. Again, salary, we talked about that. We talked about benefits and the complete package, but lack of a career growth. So are you feeling stagnant? Are you feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over again? So one thing to look at is, have you talked to your current employer about other opportunities and other ways you can grow? But then you also need to look at, is the grass greener on the other side? Will you be in the same boat if you move to another company where you actually will be starting over and will be starting from, I'll call it the bottom of the totem pole? And again, one advantage of being in your current organization is you've developed networks, you've developed relationships. And so that really can be important in your career moving forward. So one thing to think about in a new company is, let's say it's remote. If that happens to be something important to you, that you want some opportunities for remote, which is great, you need to think about how will you network in that new company to build relationships in the new company, if that's important to you. Because I can tell you, if burnout is an issue, which is one of the reasons people look for companies as well, having relationships and being engaged with people that you work with is the antidote to that. And that really doesn't matter if it's remote or in person. When you are engaged with people, that is the antidote to burnout. That is the antidote to the stress, because you have people that you can rely on to help you move through things. So you really need to think about, what do you have in your current culture and what do you have potentially in the future company and that future culture, and what could that look like? Sometimes people just want a desire for a new challenge. And so again, does that new company offer that challenge? Have you talked to your current company about new challenges that you may or may not have there? And that would be another way to be very informed about how you're looking at your new company. And again, that company instability and downsizing, and I really can't stress that enough. I've actually had so many people come and talk to me about, and some of you have emailed me as well saying, gosh, I really thought that the new company would give me what I was looking for. I thought, it was new salary, new challenge. I was really frustrated maybe with the current company, or maybe you were frustrated, they have said to me, that with some policy changes. But I'm telling you, that's everywhere. Every company has advantages and disadvantages. And you really need to think about, were you always upset? Or was this just a short period of time of being upset and frustrated? Because I can assure you, you will have some of those same concerns. It may be a different topic in a new company, but they'll be there, because that's how every work culture can be. Where it's different is, do you have a work culture where you really feel valued, where you really feel like you have a voice? Where yes, there's going to be some times where it's going to be frustrating and maybe you don't feel like you were heard, and that's going to happen. But again, the grass may not be always greener on the other side. And so you really need to think about what are my priorities, what's important to me, what are my values, and which company will offer me that you think that you can get moving forward. So how do you then get better at looking at your current company versus the new company? And again, it really is incumbent on you to really evaluate what are the challenges, or what are you really seeking, and what are the root causes to that dissatisfaction. So if the root cause is you're really not feeling heard, you're really not feeling valued, have you had that conversation with your supervisor? Have you had that conversation with other people around you? And if you really aren't feeling valued and heard, then you should look somewhere else, because that may not be what you have in that company. But is it your perception, or is it reality? And I think too often we fill our head with negativity, and we fill our heads and we think we always are going to kind of lean towards that negative. So you really need to think about too, is the grass greener on the other side, or is it your perception that it'll be greener on the other side? And again, that really is key to all of these decisions, is what can you be informed on, and what is more of a perception. And last but not least, you really need to think about, what are your long-term goals? What really are you seeking? What are your priorities? What are your long-term goals? And if you're not sure of how to look at your goals, we do have videos that talk about that, and we can list those above here for you to click on. But really think about, what are your priorities, values, and goals, and how do you make it from understanding and being informed about your current company versus the new company, and what is the perception or a feeling, which is the last way you want to be making a huge decision like changing jobs, because it really could be impacting your career moving forward and could be a mistake. Hopefully you found this helpful. Please give me a like and subscribe, and take a look at this next video.